This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, everyone. My name is Patrick Gilchrist. I'm the Warning Coordination Meteorologist with the National Weather Service in Glasgow, Montana. And this is your drought and climate outlook briefing for Eastern Montana. All information is current as of this date, September 16th, 2021. Quick look back on our yearly precipitation. This is January through August. You can see, again, no surprise here considering the major drought that we've been seeing impacting much of the state of Montana and much of the northern high plains as well. You can see that we, as a whole, across the east, finished much below average for the January through August timeframe. A lot of counties are somewhere between much below average and just below average, but as a rule, dry conditions have ruled for Eastern Montana so far for the year. Mirror that as well as in temperatures. You can see that we finished above average as a whole temperature-wise, with a few counties, including Macomb, Richland, and Dawson counties finishing much above average temperature-wise. But you can really see that we're not the only ones that are continuing to feel the effect of those warm temperatures. You can see northern high plains, Minnesota, into the Dakotas, also finishing much above average. And then, of course, the entire western United States seeing those much above average temperatures, with a few areas even seeing record warmest year so far, which has again contributed to the substantial drought that exists across much of the western United States, but is also contributing to a pretty substantial fire season. A quick look back on our summer time frame. You can see meteorological summer is considered June through August, that 3-month period. And you can see that across south central Montana and in northern Wyoming, temperatures did finish very much on the warm side. Billings, 4th warmest on record. Livingston's 2nd warmest on record. Sheridan, Wyoming, 4th warmest on record. So again, very warm. And then on the precipitation flip side, you can see very much on the dry side as well. 1.42 inches below normal for Billings for that time frame. Miles City, 2.35 inches below normal, 11th driest there. So again, very warm, very dry for the summer of 2021. If we look into northeast Montana, again, very much in the same vein, except we were actually seeing record warmest temperatures. You can see Glasgow, Wolf Point, and Jordan all setting new records. You can see Glasgow's temperature over 5 degrees above normal. You see hottest temp worth noting is Glasgow, 110 degrees, as well as Jordan. Wolf Point got up to 107, and you can see a number of 90-degree days, very much on the high side. 49 days of 90 degrees or warmer, and 15-degree, 100-degree days or warmer for Glasgow. You can see again very much dry as well. Sydney finishing 3 inches below normal, 12th driest meteorological summer on record. Glasgow also 21st driest on record. So again, very dry conditions out there, very warm for the summer months. We did, however, see some relief, and we talked a little bit about this in the last briefing. We were starting to knock on its door, but we did get some decent precipitation for mid to late August. See, some areas did see upwards of 2+ inches of precipitation. Again, this is fairly unusual to see this kind of precip during that time of mid to late August. Normally that tends to be a drier period for us, but again, we'll take any precipitation we can get at this point, given how bad the drought has really been across eastern Montana. However, this is very much too little too late for a lot of agricultural operations, and it certainly didn't do any good for help for any kind of crop growing. However, we did see a little bit of a green up response to this, which was nice to see, again, helping maybe with some grass and maybe providing some forage. But again, it was very much a blip on the precipitation screen, and while we're grateful for it, it certainly wasn't enough to put much in the dent in the way of the drought that we've got. So a quick look back at September. You can see departure from normal temperatures, again, continuing the overall trend which we saw during the summer months of warmer and generally drier conditions. You can see here on the warmer side here, we are anywhere 3 to 4 degrees above normal temperature-wise across much of eastern Montana. If we go to the flip side for precipitation, you can see again finishing somewhere between generally 5 and 25% of normal. A few pockets here did receive some precipitation. Again, it tends to show up as pretty loud bullseyes in the data. But again, for most of us across the state of Montana, especially on the east side, very much dry and not seeing much in the way of precipitation at all for September. Quick climate snapshot looking at Glasgow and Billings specifically. You can see that precipitation in the middle part of August really did help to raise our precipitation totals. Now looking at 5.31 inches. However, our normal is somewhere around 11 inches. So really only looking at about 48% of normal precipitation. Billings, likewise, very grateful for that little precipitation jumps that we saw in the month of August, and even a little jump in the latter portion of August. Again, brought their totals up to 7.34 inches, but again, normal should be somewhere around 11 inches as well. And we're only looking at about 66% of normal precipitation. So again, still continuing to feel the effects of the drought. Looking elsewhere in eastern Montana, you can see since January 1st, a lot of areas still continuing to be very dry. You know, Circle 54% of normal, Glendive 51%, Sydney 46%, Culbertson 48% of normal. So again, very dry conditions continuing to linger even with that little blurb of precipitation we saw in August. If you go elsewhere, you can see Great Falls continues to be in better shape, although they still continue to have a deficit of near 2 inches. They're at 83% of normal precipitation. Miles City at 60%, Baker at 53%. So you can see eastern Montana continues to feel the effects of that drought. And if you utilize this link here, which I will include in the email that I send out, that will provide additional statewide precipitation totals if you're looking for additional details. Quick look at the drought, which we've alluded to, and you can see that again, much of the western United States, northern high plains, all the way across the Rocky Mountains into the Columbia River Basin, and then down south all the way through California, again, continuing to feel the effects of extreme to exceptional drought. If we zoom in a little bit more on the state of Montana, you can see that eastern Montana, northeast Montana specifically, still has a big area of, again, that exceptional drought, which is the worst category. You can see portions of southwest Montana also feeling that exceptional drought conditions there as well. Again, we did see a little bit of relief with that August precipitation, but you know, by and large, we need some pretty substantial precipitation totals. We need a very large pattern shift overall in the weather pattern to start to deliver that precipitation. And unfortunately, there's just nothing on the horizon that's going to, at least in the short term, put a dent in our drought conditions. You know, looking into North Dakota, again, you can see extreme drought conditions at D3 conditions largely dominating across much of the state. A couple of isolated pockets of exceptional drought as well, and even some D2 as well mixed into the mix for North Dakota. So they're reeling as well with the drought. I would also encourage you to utilize these links above here. You can Google it as well, Drought Impacts Reporter. And, you know, especially with some of you folks that are seeing what the realizations are in the ag world from this drought and what the impacts really were for you. If you can provide especially hard numbers, you know, hard facts, that goes a long ways towards keeping, again, the decision makers and everyone that's involved with drought reporting and dealing with the drought impacts, make sure that they have the latest information and that they can have the best information possible to be making decisions with. So I'd encourage you to share any information you might have with the Drought Monitor folks. So a quick look at our short-term forecast. We do have a little bit of precipitation in there. We'll talk about here in just a second, but you know, we really are talking about some fire weather concerns for eastern Montana in the short term. Looking for, you know, largely breezy conditions today with maybe a few isolated showers out and about, but as we get into Friday and especially Saturday, conditions are looking fairly critical fire weather-wise. So we are looking for relative humidity to start to drop down into those lowered categories, you know, 20s or 20% or even teens. For that time frame, we're also looking for some breezy winds to pick up on the order of 20 to 30 miles an hour. So expect red flag warnings to be forthcoming. Sounds like that decision is going to be made very soon, but definitely be keeping a heads up and be very cautious on Friday and Saturday with anything that could possibly produce a spark or something that could start a fire, because conditions will be critical. We do have something called an atmospheric river, which is a large area with a narrow area with a large amount of moisture associated with it, that is going to be impacting the Pacific Northwest as we get into Friday and Saturday. That's going to drive a lot of precipitation along those coastal mountain ranges, and then in towards the Cascades, especially. You can see it nicely on this 7-day precipitation map. And looks like they're in for several inches of precipitation there. It'll spill over, impact part of the northern Rockies, and then we'll spill over as well. And it looks like by the time we get into Sunday into Monday, we could see some wetting rains possibly developing, which would be, again, good news from a fire weather perspective. And again, we'll take any precip we can with the drought. But looks like western Montana is going to get fairly wet. But precipitation totals on the east side might be a little bit more spotty here and there, but it looks like a wetting rain might be in store, which is 1/10 of an inch of precipitation or more. So again, fingers crossed, as we'll take anything we can get. Also worth noting that with this progressive weather pattern that we're seeing, fall is very much in swing for the state of Montana. And if you have any sensitive vegetation, if you're a gardener, or if you have any exposed pipes or water lines, that you might want to start paying close attention to the forecast, as we are going to start flirting with freezing temps in a lot of locations if we haven't already. 8 to 14 day outlook, again, kind of splits Montana between equal chances, which would be more normal type temperatures across the western 2/3 of the state of Montana. Eastern 2/3 is favoring maybe better chances for above normal temperatures. On the precipitation side, you can see all of eastern Montana favoring better chances for below normal precipitation in that 8 to 14 day, with maybe more normal type precipitation extreme northwest Montana. 3-month drought outlook. You can see that the period September 16th through the end of the year, we are favoring maybe some ongoing drought, but maybe some improvement across western Montana. So again, this is very much good news, at least on the horizon. There is maybe something to feel a little more optimistic for at least part of the state of Montana, that we could see maybe a more normal precipitation and maybe some relief from the drought concerns. But we'll just have to wait and see kind of how that persists. And again, unfortunately, the eastern 2/3 of the state of Montana is expected to remain in drought conditions, and really persistent for that time frame. Taking a look at the 3-month outlook, again, this is hot off the presses here, October, November, December time frame. You can see that the state of Montana is very much favoring equal chances on our seasonal temperatures, so maybe more normal type temperatures. And again, on the precipitation side, you can see those better chances for above normal precipitation starting to nose in to portions of western Montana. So again, some good news, more equal chances for the rest of us on the east side. And again, I assume that's what's contributing into that previous graphic that we saw with a drought persisting. But because even normal precipitation isn't going to be enough to put a dent or reverse the drought. But honestly, at this point, we would take our normal allotment of precipitation for the fall. So not too bad of news, I guess, as far as the outlooks go. January, February, and March, you can see that equal chances for temperatures really dominating over eastern Montana, with maybe just a little bit of below normal temperatures starting to nose into northwest Montana, and that above normal chances for precipitation starting to nose eastward as well, with maybe the eastern or the western 2/3 of Montana seeing better chances for above normal precipitation. So again, that's maybe some good news, maybe possibly some good news or something to look forward to on the horizon as we get later into the winter months. If you look at those forecasts are all very much consistent with our current ENSO forecast, which is calling for a La Nina watch. And again, La Nina would favor a cooling of temperatures out in the equatorial Pacific off the coast of South America. And you can see that these models are very much pointing towards a cooling down towards the -1, maybe even approaching -2 on this scale, which again would favor those La Nina conditions overall. But again, it is absolutely worth noting that La Nina while it has an effect on the weather of eastern Montana and Montana in general, it is not as much of a slam dunk as some of the other players involved, as say an El Nino. So we do have warm and dry La Ninas, and that's largely what we saw with last La Nina, which was last winter. And that brings me to this graphic, which was put out by Brian Bretschneider, who's a climatologist up in Alaska. He puts out some great information. He's definitely worth a follow on Twitter or to check him out on social media. But he noticed that we are going into a second back-to-back La Nina winter. And he looked at some statistics trying to see when the number of times that the second back-to-back La Nina winter was wetter than normal. And it's interesting that out of 15 years that has occurred, you can see that there's definitely a stronger signal for the southern tier of Montana and into western Montana for those to be a wetter type of scenario. If you get up towards northeast Montana, maybe more even money, or maybe even favoring less potential for wetter conditions. Just kind of an interesting statistic. It's just kind of what the odds are, and it's definitely worth looking at and worth pondering what this could mean for us. And on the same token, when the second back-to-back La Nina was above normal temperature-wise, so again, when it was warm, and you can see here again a pretty strong signal, it looks like, for much of eastern Montana, that does not happen very often. So we had that warm winter last winter for most of although we had 1 month of cold temperatures. Looks like now, at least according to the statistics, we would favor this being a cooler, or a normal or cooler winter upcoming. So just kind of an interesting statistic, again, provided by Brian Bretschneider. Something to kind of ponder and to think about as we go forward into the winter months with that La Nina watch that's in effect. So at this time, I'd like to wrap it up. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself, patrick.gilchrist@noaa.gov, or Tom Frieders, my counterpart in the Billings, Montana office, tom.frieders@noaa.gov. And of course, always check out our latest information. Social media is one of our best ways to get that. So check us out on Twitter and Facebook. And again, appreciate your time. Thank you.